Hi there, I'm Sotal Mehrotra Kapoor. Welcome to 5 Live. India is choking and the warning signs are no longer subtle. The pollution crisis is fast becoming an embarrassment for the country, even on a global stage. Just days ago, two top international badminton players pulled out of the Indian Open in the national capital. Their reason was stark and simple. They did not wish to breathe this toxic air. In Mumbai, India's financial capital, cricketers were forced to wear masks mid-match as dust and pollution from nearby construction sites engulfed the ground. But it is no longer just an environmental concern. There is a clear economic fallout as well. One of the world's leading economists, Geeta Gopinath, has warned that air pollution poses a bigger threat to Indian economy than even the US tariffs. Now, despite court orders, emergency action plans, repeated policy announcements and political promises, the air is only getting worse, not better. Responsibility seems to be fragmented, accountability completely missing, and the cost is being paid by you and by me. Ordinary citizens who pay for it with their life every single day. Today, we assess the mood of the nation on India's pollution crisis and what India believes about the fight for clean air. Now, Mood of the Nation, as you know, is a very unique survey that India Today Group does. We do it at regular intervals to try and get a pulse of the people, not just of how you will vote, but what do you think about leaders, what do you think about issues as well. So it was indeed imperative that we ask them the most pressing health issue in the country today, which is our toxic air. So we asked a couple of questions. I've got the top 4 for you. The first one, let's begin with that. The first question in the survey goes straight to the citizen's role. Are we, as responsible Indians, doing enough to protect the environment? Let's look at the numbers over there to see how that went on. Now, what we've learned from that is that nearly 60% of respondents said yes, they believe they are doing their bit to control bad air, to control toxic air. But 34% disagreed, saying citizens can and should do much more. Compared to the same Mood of the Nation, a survey and the question we asked back in March of 2025, remember, where pollution levels were not as bad and also the pollution season wasn't at its peak, there is a significant shift, you see. 17% more respondents now feel they're doing enough to save the environment, a telling insight actually into how the national views are also changing and how you and I think about our own role when it comes to India's pollution crisis. If we look at the other numbers over there, also pretty telling at the moment, as it goes on to talk about how there were a few don't knows and can't say as well, and they've also pointed out to a significant number. But importantly, citizens today say that they are doing their bit. Almost 60% say that they are doing their bit, they feel, or the max that they can when it comes to the issue of pollution. With that, let's move on to question number 2. The second question that we asked was to put spotlight on policy makers. This is a significant one. We asked, should India's air pollution be the top priority for the government, especially after the alarming numbers seen this winter, particularly in the north of the country. Now, how did India respond to that? Let's look at those numbers over there. A whopping 80%, nearly that, 78.8 to be precise, are saying that tackling air pollution must be the top priority and the top political agenda in the country. To all the politicians watching right now, that's the verdict. Indians are saying, and a whopping 80% of them, that we need to tackle pollution as a top priority in the country. There are a few who believe that we have overemphasized on that matter and that population is about 13% only. So I don't think it gets more clearer than this, that Indians today want air pollution to be tackled with. We want answers from our government. We want them to take it up as a top priority, deal with it as if your life depends on it today, not your future tomorrow. That was a big question number 2. Which brings me to question number 3. Who will fix this air after all? And this is an interesting one. The question was, who is to be blamed for Delhi's toxic air? Very simple, straightforward. Who do you think and who do Indians blame for Delhi's toxic air? Now, you know Delhi has had an interesting history. We've had governments being voted in, voted out, and a lot of political blame game also going. The previous government left this on us and the others saying we did not get cooperation from neighboring states. All of that put aside, what do Indians feel? What do Delhiites feel? Well, the maximum number over there has gone to actually 20.4%. That is the current BJP government, people feel, is to be blamed for Delhi's toxic air. Aam Aadmi Party is not very far behind, however, with 15% of the respondents saying that Arvind Kejriwal is to be blamed for this crisis. About 9% believe that Congress government under Sheila Dikshit could have done more. And this is interesting because we also put in as one of the key issues there. Do you think all of them are to be blamed? And guess what the number is there? 16.7% Indians feel that all governments are responsible for Delhi's toxic air. 17% of the respondents saying that. We also asked, do you think citizens are responsible? And that number comes out to about 9.1%. Collective responsibility as well. Collective responsibility of the center, of the state, of citizens together comes out to about 23.7%. And that's the winner on this chart. I think this is so heartening to understand that people really understand the issue. People are saying this is not a problem that can be solved by one political party, by one chief minister, by one prime minister, and by one state or one citizen alone. It has to be collective responsibility, and there the chart getting, the top there, the figures there going to collective responsibility at 23.7%. That's a telling number. Which brings me to the question number 4 that we asked Indians. And this is interesting because we asked them, the question was, in your view, what is the single biggest contributor to the air pollution in Delhi? What do people think? Not science, not scientists, not politicians or journalists either, but how do people assess the issue? And this question and the answers that we got brings a smile to my face. I'll tell you why. Because 40% of them, 40.4% said vehicular emissions and traffic congestion, which is actually the truth. That is the top priority. Followed by 25% of them saying that construction dust and industrial emissions are the biggest culprit. And about 12% believe stubble burning remains to be a top contributor as well. So it is 40% people said vehicular pollution, 25% said industrial emissions and construction activities, 12.4% said stubble burning, 7% said dust, 5% said seasonal and geographical factors, and about 10% said that they don't know or can't say. Now this sort of really fills me up with a lot of joy because this tells you that A, people in this country understand the issue of pollution so well. They don't just understand the contributing factors on which they are bang on, but they also understand that this is collective responsibility and cannot be done by one city, one state, one chief minister, one politician. Everybody, including us citizens, have to do our bit. Now that's the big boot of the nation survey that India Today Group has done.